4 doors is 2 doors too many.
Nobody was ever figuring that these would be collectible.
That Tornado is so sweet.
Isn't that a nice car?
But speaking of nice cars, what we have here is a very red, 76 Cutlass Supreme, Olds Cutlass Supreme. And beautiful car, beautiful condition. Red is not a color I remember seeing many of these in.
No, I don't. I've never seen that many red Cutlass Supremes from this era either, but it looks fantastic.
It really does,
you know, because red is this bright red is so stereotypical for the muscle car era and Mustangs and Corvettes and things like that. Very not stereotypical for a Olds Cutlass.
Yeah.
But it really gives the car, because it's a very sporty looking car. And then you add the red paint and the T-tops.
T-tops, yeah. I mean,
and this is a pretty dynamite example.
It really, it wears the red well. The vinyl top's great, but the T-tops really do set this car off.
Yes.
And this is another crazy low mileage car.
It's got about 13,000 original miles on it.
Oh, so it's double the miles of
Double
this.
the miles of the
and
Tornado.
Still only 13.
But again, you can tell that it's had enthusiastic carrying ownership its entire life. The car just doesn't even have a mark on it.
Well, you know, earlier we were talking about how unique these gills and stuff were, but you can kind of almost see them here, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
It's interesting. They just put them up top
flip them upside down and put them
up
on
there.
The front
what do you
of there.
say?
Right.
But square headlights. You know, we've got that going on. 76.
Yep.
The Tornadoes before the 5 mile-an-hour bumpers. This is a bigger bumper, but not as clunky as they were.
No,
in 73.
It follows the contours of the front end and the whole styling of the car. It just works. I think the stylist eventually figured out how to integrate these bumpers in a way that helped the car's styling.
It did take a few years.
It did take a few years, yes.
It did take a few years. So this one has been in the collection how long?
Maybe 10 years.
And where'd you find it?
This one is another one that kind of found me. It was a dealer, a classic car dealer in Ohio. Not a guy who just kind of did it as a side hustle. His name was George. I've bought several cars from George over the years because George always dealt in super top-notch, high-quality stuff. But this car was a car that was actually part of his personal collection.
Oh, okay.
And but then at some moment of time, 10, 15 years ago, he decided that it needed a new home. And he called me out of the blue on it. He says, hey, let me tell you about my Cutlass I'm thinking of selling. And he rattled off all the specs of it, the condition, sent me some pictures, threw me a price. You know,
it became yours.
Bango, it became mine. So
so this is all original, like most of your cars?
Yes, yeah.
So even the wheels?
Every last bit of it. Even those tires are the original.
Even the tires, the original tires for that car?
Yep.
Holy cow. So what did they call that? Was that a rally wheel?
Yeah, Oldsmobile called that the rally wheel.
And were they body color? So if I had a blue one, it would be blue?
Yes, which really, I think, again, makes the ar look dynamite.
It does.
Yeah.
It's also, you know, you used to be able to check individual boxes for anything.
Right.
No wonder they couldn't make money.
Now you just order package A or package B.
Yeah, it is not economy of scale.
Right.
But it's in great shape. And again, I think the T-tops just add so much to it. Plus, the problem I have with black interiors is that they just suck up all the light and you can't see anything. T-tops actually illuminate that interior to some extent, don't they?
It lets some light in. And this got a beautiful interior in it. Of course, everything's original.
Bucket seats and
bucket seats and console, that's a must-have.
Interesting matchup of either an embossed vinyl
I've never
or fabric.
It's all vinyl, but
it sure looks like fabric.
The vinyl is textured in a way that makes it look like a fabric. It's really pretty wild looking. The nice part about it looks like fabric, but it's far more durable.
Yeah.
And spill-proof and weatherproof and all that other kind of stuff.
And it has the rally gauge package or something because you've actually got
actually got all your gauges there. It's not just a bunch of idiot lights.
In 76, what a concept. But, you know, great condition. Again, a little bit bigger A-pillar, but still, and not quite the turret windshield, but still good visibility. You do have kind of the reverse thing because now that whole, curve and there's actually a peak.
Yeah,
that
it's almost a
through
semi-fastback type of roof line going back here. All of the GMA bodies in the mid-70s were great looking cars, from the Chevrolets all the way up to the Oldsmobiles and everything in between. and they sold like hotcakes.
Because there were a lot of these
There
out
were
there.
a lot of these things
Yeah.
out on the road, but very few made it made it out of the other end.
Well, they were used and abused.
Smog era 70s cars,
Yeah.
nobody thought that they would ever amount to anything as far as collectability and desirability. Well, we've seen that is not the case.
Well, you know,
but in the meantime, an awful lot met their fate in junkyards
totally.
in the 1980s.
And if you're talking performance, these were not performance cars.
No.
But they're beautiful styling, and it wasn't
drive
until
great,
the 80s that they gave up on styling too. Not only gave up on performance, they gave up on styling.
They gave up on everything.
They gave up on all.
Yeah.
But this car is still I think a beautiful looking car.
Yep.
I even like the taillights, how they come up and curve into the top of the fender.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's just
It's a real good looking car, and it drives every bit as good as it looks.
so probably 350 powered.
Olds 350,
Olds
yeah,
350.
not Chevy 350.
Not-
Olds, it was the Oldsmobile 350,
Let's go
190 horsepower, and runs great.
Let's go look at it.
All right,
Oh, that's only half the hood of the Tornado.
right.
The
Tell me
Tornado was a
about it.
block
Yeah.
long. Wow, that looks really nice too. Now, is this another one that's never been out, just been cleaned up?
Correct.
Wow.
Just cleaned up, but nothing's been refinished or replaced under here.
It's a very similar looking, AC setup to a certain extent, but it doesn't have that hole that the Tornado had because of the transaxle.
Yeah,
And
the engine
sits-
is further behind the
Yep.
front wheels.
So it's interesting because Olds, even in their insignia, it's rocket.
Yes, yes.
And they didn't call this a rocket 350. I'm surprised.
I don't know why.
I don't either.
It's just Oldsmobile 350. But these are also really good handling cars too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The engine is set so far back towards the
good balance?
the cowl. It's got good balance.
Oh.
It's I wouldn't call it a small car, but it handles like a smaller car.
I mean, it just is so clean. And there's not even any oil leakage in the thing. That really, and what, 13,000
13,000 original miles.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Can we roll a few more on? I mean, it's a
Let's
nice
do
day.
it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Close her up. Let's roll.
It needs the exercise.
All right. Oh, nice and smooth. Quiet.
Yeah.
Mostly what I hear is the AC. Okay. Gee, I like that. I like the console shift.
Everything about this Cutlass is on the sporting edge of things. The bright red paint, the T-top option,
Yes.
the optional 350 engine.
They made a lot of these cars.
They did. They were super good looking,
Yeah.
very attractive, and this is back in the day when a two-door car was an aspiration, whereas today everybody needs and wants four doors.
4 doors is 2 doors too many. I always remember that. What a great line.
So yeah, these were really popular, and Oldsmobile sold a ton of them, but you don't see too many that have survived today.
But they were beat up. I mean, people really did use them and use them up and then just onto something else.
In the 1970s, it was the smog era. All the manufacturers were trying to figure out how to meet these new emission standards without losing performance. They were also trying to improve gas mileage. It was an awkward time.
It was
Let's just call it that.
was an awkward
It was an
time.
awkward time. So with the sunset of the muscle car era of the 60s and 70s, even though these were dynamite-looking cars, nobody was ever figuring that these would be collectible.
Yeah.
So very few ever got really set aside, kept for the long term. They just kept on getting passed down to another owner until there was no more car left.
Degraded.
I've loved this car from the moment it's hit our collection.
Well, it's just, what, 13,683 miles.
Yeah. I've never seen another bright red Cutlass Supreme of this era with T-tops.
No, and the T-tops are really a neat option.
Yeah.
Especially on like sunny days when it's not raining, because sometimes they leak when it is raining. But on nice days, it's really cool. And it does brighten up the interior. And I dig the bucket seats. I mean, this is interestingly optioned. You got the center console, the console shift, buckets. I would imagine this is sort of the sport wheel.
Yeah, you know how people always think, well, if I could go back in a time machine and I could order a car in a certain way. If I went back in a time machine to 1976 to order a Cutlass Supreme, this is exactly how I'd do it.
This would be optioned exactly this way, huh? The Tornado still had that beautifully elegant but thin steering wheel. And this thing's now fattening up. This thing's getting more like today's steering wheels.
Right.
And I suspect this was one of the optional wheels.
So rally wheel with rally gauges.
AC. This thing did have everything.
What's the thing on the top there, on the dash?
That's the seatbelt warning light.
That's the seatbelt warning light, yeah. Oh, and it wants us to wear seatbelts. At least it stops.
Yes.
This also, I noticed with the Tornado, it had these weird air vents right down under the glove compartment and actually under the steering column, and this has it too.
It was a GM thing.
Apparently.
All of my Firebirds and Camaros from the 70s have that too.
Of course, this will get added out, but it was
a high priority on keeping your kneecaps cool.
Well, yeah, kneecaps are balls. No hot balls in these cars.
We're keeping it in.
Want everybody to come out of the car after a long ride feeling fresh.
Feeling fresh.
Except the back seat passengers.
Yeah, right.
I'm not usually a bright red car guy. I'm not a resale red guy.
It works.
Except
with this,
it depends on the car,
Yeah.
And with this car, I love it.
Yep.
Absolutely love the red. And it's kind of the whole counterintuitive thing is that with Mustangs and Camaros and Corvettes, red. Everybody's got red.
Yep.
So it's common, and that's why I don't care for it. But with a Cutlass Supreme, you never see one in bright red.
It really
so
is.
that's why I guess that's why it's so appealing to me that this car is red. I really love how Oldsmobile with their rally wheels, they called everything rally. The design of the wheel with the chrome accents, but the way they did them in body color. So the wheels match the car.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the original owner was probably a diehard Oldsmobile enthusiast. So he special ordered the car, and obviously it was a sunny day only, special occasion type of car.
Yeah.
That's the backstory to an awful lot of low mile cars,
Really, it's just
people are always asking, why would this happen? Why would somebody buy a car and not use it? And the answer is that plenty of people in the 60s and 70s, and even today, they would buy a car strictly because they loved the car and they wanted it, but they didn't necessarily want to put it through the daily mill.
That's what I do. I mean, I got cars that I drive, and then I got these other cars that I don't put many miles on them, but I just love them. Every time I get behind the wheel, those like, oh, this is just beautiful. And that's how they stay low miles, is just because.
And then you get how can you have a car like that and not drive it? And
I drive it when I want to.
Is the fact that when I do get around to driving a car that I haven't been in for a while, the pleasure I get from it is amplified exponentially.
Absolutely.
If I drove this car that we're in right now every day, sooner or later, it might not be this week, it might not be this month, but sooner or later, it'll become normal to me.
Yep.
And it'll become mundane. It'll be the everyday grind, and it will cease to be as special as it was the first time I drove it.
Yep.
And so that's kind of my reply to people is it's nice to step into a car that you're not in every day, that you haven't had out in a while, because it just makes the whole entire experience that much more pleasant and amplified and special.
This is a very different driving experience, but equally desirable.
Yeah, this car's really dialed in from a handling standpoint.
And it feels more aggressive in its stance and kind of sportiness and everything. Not quite the Luxo barge of the Tornado. But they're both just great drivers. and smooth, and no body roll, takes the bumps beautifully,
Yeah, the G
glides along.
I can't say enough great things about the GM A-body platform, both from the 60s and all the way through the 70s.
And that would be that'd be the Monte Carlo, right?
Right. And prior to that, the Chevelle and the Tempest, Le Mans for Pontiac, and the Skylark for Buick. It doesn't matter what year of those models that you buy, it's going to be a great driving car. Really, really sorted out, well-engineered car.
So which was higher, Buick or Oldsmobile in the line?
I've always thought that it was Buick, Oldsmobile, and then Cadillac. But you know what? It's really hard. Buicks and Oldsmobiles pretty much slid in at the same price level, though.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know how you could say an Olds 98 or a Buick Electra 225 were somehow any different than each other as far as level of luxury and price.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I actually think of you and your dad both as kind of Ford guys, but you have this true appreciation for this era of GM.
Yeah.
So until our next meeting, remember, honor the timeless classics. I'm Dennis Gage. Happy motoring.